Ah, the ocean. Such a lovely place. A relaxing expanse full of mystery and beauty, with such elegant creatures like the Atlantic blue marlin, the lion's mane jellyfish, the nudibranch, the blanket octopus, and of course...
Boom! Sharks, baby! Yeah! Sharks are big, baby! Best animal to ever exist. They're so cool, have so many teeth. There's like 100 different versions of them, and whenever they're portrayed in media, they're always peak. And you know what's better than talking about sharks? Being a shark. And you know where you can beat a shark the easiest? In video games.
Now, I just want to clarify, I'm not talking about shovelware shark games. Ugh. I'm talking about the cream of the crop here. The games that make you feel like a shark.
I'm also doing this so I can actually make a relatively short video for once.
So let's start off with games about the most iconic shark.
Jaws is a film by Steven Spielberg released back in 1975. It's about Jaws the shark lurking in the dark of the depths of the sea, and I think we all know how the movie goes. We've all seen Jaws, right? Right? Over the 50 years since the movie's been released, there have been a handful of Jaws games, but only 2 notable ones where you can actually play as a shark.
The first game is Jaws Unleashed, released in 2006, made by Palucha Interactive. Taking place 20 years after Revenge, Amity Island has grown significantly since 1986, with companies like Environ Plus moving in. Unfortunately, the subsonic frequencies coming from their Sea Seeker machine has caused another killer shark to show up. This brings us to the game's tutorial, where you quickly realize this game does not feel good to play. Yeah, I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off here. Jaws does not feel good to control here. They feel like a slippery tank, always bumping into walls and swimming just barely past enemies. I got used to it as the game went along, but it never felt good or natural. After destroying the pier and killing some people, you get captured by Michael Brody and get taken to a lab at Totally Not SeaWorld. The mayor, who is the son of the mayor from the movies, meets up with Michael asking for the shark to be moved to the show floor, but Michael is vehemently against it. During the conversation, the CEO of Environ Plus charges in and demands to see the shark and have it killed, because we apparently killed his son. Oops. While they're arguing amongst themselves, we're able to break out of this lab and escape into the theme park. This is without a doubt the best section of the game. Having a level set in a SeaWorld-like park, in addition to being a great callback to Jaws 3D, makes this one of the most visually interesting and creative parts of the game. We're breaking into other exhibits, tearing down wall after wall, flooding the halls to progress through, and then for the finale, we break into the Orca Stadium and absolutely destroy that whale. Too bad the fight sucks. Despite how cool that ending cutscene is, the actual fight is swimming around in circles trying to get close enough to the orca to nibble at its tail. I feel like they could have had the orca fight back a bit harder, and maybe not just have it be swimming in circles the whole time. With our somewhat flashy escape, we're now able to explore the shores of Amity Island. I like this in concept, but the execution here is really lackluster. It's void of anything visually interesting and doesn't have any cool secrets to find. There are side challenges to do here, but they are so basic and boring. Like, ooh, kill these seals before they make it to an island. Yeah, real challenging game, real challenging. Would it really kill them to add a kelp forest, put a coral reef somewhere, incorporate some underwater caves, maybe even have an inflatable obstacle course you sometimes see along the coast? I know it's only a hub world, but if you're gonna make it this uninteresting, just have it be a menu instead. The next few levels are kind of the same thing, but slightly different. For each of them, we enter an Environ Plus factory or building, blow it up, get hunted by people, and then flee the scene. I guess our shark's motivation is to take down Environ Plus? I guess this is to make us look more heroic, since this is also Michael Brody's motivation for the game. But at the same time, the mission right after we break out is to kill a bunch of teenagers at a beach party, so... The next mission, the Angry Armada, is a shark tournament that the mayor set up to kill us. And this level is a 1v100, you against all these fishermen. And by God, is this the most fun I've had with the game since the SeaWorld level. This is the first time you really feel like a monster, absolutely demolishing every boat in our path, completely slaughtering every hunter that even thinks about killing us, and blowing up everyone else. We even get to recreate Quint's death from the movie. Alas, the hunter hired by Environ Plus gets saved by Brody before we get to him. But mark my words, we'll get him. After blowing up the Coast Guard. A Taste for Blood is next, and it's a little strange. It has us hunting down 4 divers in an underwater minefield / ship graveyard area.
Which is another really sick and creative idea for a level.
After getting past what is the most annoying minefield to ever exist, we have to try and get the divers out of their hiding spots. For the first 2, we basically need to bash our way through to get to them, but the last 2, you gotta use that noggin. Each is an enclosed space we can't bash through, but we can scare them by bashing. By scaring them, they try to flee to a different spot. For one of them, we can catch them while transferring, and for the other, we have to guide them to an open area by continually scaring them. Figuring this out was actually really fun, and makes me like this mission a lot more. But such an odd level to have in this game. It's a lot slower paced than what we've been doing so far, and doesn't really add to the plot. We aren't going after hunters or Environ Plus workers, it's normal divers. Again, I like this level, aside from the stupid minefield, but I find it so odd that it's just so disconnected from everything else in the game. The next level is The Deep. We're storming Environ Plus' biggest facility yet, and putting the final nail in their coffin. Now, before I really get into this level, I want to say a few things I liked first. Let's see here. Here we are. I liked how it's set in a deep sea mining facility. And that's it for the stuff I liked. Now, for everything I didn't like, having to go around these bland-ass cave systems to destroy generators is really tedious and boring. The actual act of destroying the generators takes way too long, and it's just us bashing and biting into it. For some reason in the caves, there's a current that goes through, and if you get caught in it, you are dead. There is no escape from this thing, and you are dragged into the grinders. It's a really poorly designed level, a chore to go through, and I feel like they didn't utilize the setting here to its fullest potential. The next mission is thankfully a lot better and actually starts the moment we finish the previous level. So this is more of a part 2, which is why we start off with a boss. And it's actually against another sea creature and not another boat. Whoa, we're breaking new ground here. Regrettably, this is one of the worst boss fights in the game. Unlike the orca, you can't go in and start biting at the squid to win. You have to first let it charge at you, and only when it misses are you then able to do a counterattack on either its eyes or tentacles. Conceptually, I actually do like this a lot more than the orca fight, as it actually feels more like a duel, but in practice it's done terribly. It seems completely random when the squid is going to rush you, so you're just kind of standing still waiting for it to do anything. We're also in an incredibly cramped space with grinders and blades all around waiting to kill us. And with how bad the camera is on top of this slippery shark, you more often than not just swim directly into hazards. And then for some ungodly reason, the fight completely switches the way to beat it by making you trick the squid into charging into the support beams of the arena to make it collapse. What? I think the reason it's switched up is because the arena needs to crash down into the research facility so we can proceed to the main part of the level, but they could have easily had it to where when you kill the squid, its body gets stuck into one of the grinders because how big it is, and causes the plates to start exploding, making the arena fall into the facility and still allowing us to enter. The rest of the level is alright. It's basically the SeaWorld level, but less fun. There isn't really anything cool going on here. Fortunately, the ending is a lot more interesting. After destroying the generator powering the place, we head to the docking bay to destroy the control room to blow it up. But as we do that, the CEO shows up and has taken matters into his own hands, as he and a fleet of machines have arrived to kill us once and for all. And we have to quickly take down the squadron before the building blows up. A really sick thing to end this level on, especially since this is the climax of the Environ Plus storyline, so it makes perfect sense for us to directly face with the CEO here. I think it would have been a bit better if the CEO showed up in like a aliens like mech suit or any type of machinery, because what is this man thinking? She's facing a shark that has blown up every single one of his factories in a swimsuit? Like, come on, man. Who do you think you are? Killing the CEO, we make our escape. putting an end to Enviro Plus and an end to this game as a whole. Huh? What do you mean there are 2 more levels? Yeah, so despite dealing with the main antagonist of the game, there's still 2 levels to go through, and they might be the worst levels in the game. Right after blowing up Environ Plus HQ, we're greeted to a cutscene where the sole survivor of our rampage tells the mayor about our duel with the CEO. The mayor foolishly believes we died in the explosion and proceeds with the 4th of July celebrations. Brody tries to tell the mayor to hold off until they can 100% confirm we're dead, with the professional shark hunter agreeing with us as he's seen firsthand what this shark is capable of doing. But much like his father before him, he brushes off their worries and continues on. And would you believe it, but when the 4th of July celebration comes along, we come rolling in and start killing everyone! The mayor spots us and has his driver aimlessly drive around the pier until he eventually crashes into the boat with the fireworks, causing them to go off, ruining the whole celebration. If all the death and carnage didn't already do that. Where do I even begin with this mission? The first half is a retread of the tutorial. I kid you not. We have to kill a specific amount of people at the beach and destroy boats just like the tutorial mission. It baffles me that they were so out of ideas at this point in development that they reuse the tutorial. The tutorial! Then the boss is a copy of the Orca! But worse! While I didn't necessarily like the orca fight, at least I could damage it. For this dinky, mediocre, pathetic yacht, the only way to deal damage is to push it into other boats in the water? Huh? This goes against how we've dealt with every other naval battle in this game. Why change it now? The opportunity to do this specific form of attack is incredibly hard to accomplish. You're better off hoping the mayor's boat gets stuck on a wall, giving you an opportunity to start wailing on it, which is exactly what I did to beat this stupid boss. The next and last level is slightly better than this, but that isn't really saying much. After the disaster that was the 4th of July celebration, Brody and the Shark Hunter make plans to finally get rid of us once and for all. Later that day, they travel far out into the sea to battle us. Brody is here in a helicopter, and the Shark Hunter has gotten a new and improved boat to fight us. I don't know how to feel about this fight. On one hand, this is the best boss fight in the game. It feels like an actual duel with characters that have been built up throughout the story, but on the other hand, it's just the Hunter's fights from the Angry Armada, but given more health, 2 helicopters and bombs. Like, we couldn't have had something more original for the final boss of the game. And then the ending drops the ball completely. After draining the boat's health bar, it just cuts to it in pieces. We don't even get a cutscene of it blowing up. Then Brody shows no remorse over his dead ally and bombs the wreckage? Bro doesn't even know if the shark is still there or not. He just did that for the fun of the game. After a job well done, Brody flies off in the helicopter. But unbeknownst to him, we lived. And then the credits roll. Yay!
I don't know if there are words to describe how disappointing this ending is. Hell, it doesn't even feel like an ending. This shows what is probably the biggest problem this game has. It shouldn't have made Michael Brody one of the antagonists.
By making Michael Brody someone who has been in every single Jaws film and has been the protagonist of 3 of them, one of the main antagonists for your game, you have shot yourself in the foot because you can't kill him. He's too important of a character in the franchise to kill off in a video game. So you have to let him get away at the end, which feels frustrating and anticlimactic for the player. What's more frustrating is that this game had the perfect antagonist with the CEO of EnvironPlus. He makes it to where both Brody and us are on the same side, And initially, the game was going this route, but for some reason, aborts it by mission 4 of the game and just has us finish the Environ Plus plot by mission 8. The plot was the driving force of the game. With it gone, you're left with a bad retelling of the first Jaws film.
With all that said, would I say this game is good? No, not really. But it isn't exactly bad either. It has some very creative level ideas. The gameplay can be fun, and you do feel like an apex predator sometimes, but there are not enough positives to weigh out the negatives of this game. It can be miserable playing through this game sometimes. Now, there is one more Jaws game released after this. In fact, it is the last Jaws game to be released, and it's certainly a lot more out there than this game.
Jaws Ultimate Predator, created by Majesco Entertainment, was released in 2011 for the Wii. The gameplay is your basic hack and slash type deal, just really simplified. For attacks, you can either bite or use your tail and chain some combos with them. Okay, there are like 6 combo attacks you can do, and only like 3 or maybe 4 of them are actually useful. But the game makes up for that with rage moves. By filling up the rage meter, you're able to perform big, grand, deadly attacks.
Being a game on the Wii, the only way to activate these attacks is to use motion controls. Yay! You gotta hit them with some of these, a few of these, a couple of these, and maybe even some of these. All these can activate different types of rage attacks, but that's not the only part of the game that uses motion controls.
Every single boss fight in this game is a quick time event using motion controls. While this does allow for the fights to be more cinematic and epic, it doesn't really feel like you won the fight. It just feels like watching a cutscene with extremely limited input on our end, which makes most boss fights feel unsatisfying. The levels are fine, nothing too bad or too good about any of them. I do think some of the locations are pretty creative. We got volcanic ridges, laboratories, the Great Barrier Reef, swamps, a sunken temple, a ship graveyard, but it all looks so muted and dull. There's no color in any of these environments. I guess it's to make the game look more realistic, but this comes at the cost of making the game look boring visually, which should not be a word to describe this game. We are fighting mutant seals, crocodiles, mutant crocodiles, mechs, submarines, orcas, sperm whales, and several prehistoric sea creatures. And the plot to this game is just insane. It starts off relatively normal, but then slowly becomes a story about how the CEO of this company wants to clone us so that we can then take over the seas and become the rightful rulers of the world, completely eliminating humanity as we know it. Then the game just abruptly drops this story altogether and has us face off against a shark hunter that tastes us at the beginning of the game and has just kind of been in the background ever since in an anticlimactic cutscene. It really feels like the team behind this game had a vision in mind for the story, but towards the end of the development, they realized, oh, this is a Jaws game, and shoehorned in a fight with a shark hunter at Amity Island. This is the one and only part of the game that references something from the movies, and it feels so forced. The previous plot wasn't mind-blowing or anything, but it was engaging and crazy as hell. It makes me sad that the story became the most basic plot you could possibly think of for a Jaws game.
Okay, I've been a bit mean for a lot of this video, so let's move on to a shark series I know for a fact I'll be more positive about.
God, this is a good burger. Created by Future Games of London before being acquired by Ubisoft. Hungry Shark is a series very near and dear to me. It's what got me addicted to sharks as a child, and is one of the main inspirations for this video. We'll say I am only going to be covering the first 2 Hungry Shark games, as every other game in the series has either been delisted or is lost media, which is quite a shame because I was really looking forward to Hungry Shark VR.
Hungry Shark Evolution is an arcade mobile game released in 2012 and has received several content updates since its launch. The main gameplay of Hungry Shark is to survive as long as you can while also gaining the highest score. You can do various things to increase the amount of points you get each run. You can equip several accessories, get pets, activate gold rushes, fight the giant crab, and get transported to 2 small maps that you can explore for a brief amount of time. It's a very simplistic gameplay loop, but man is it addicting. And much like any other live service mobile game, the main appeal here is the characters you can play as. With 37 sharks here as of making this video, the best way to get through all of them in a promptly manner is with a tier list. Yay! Okay, just to get these ones out of the way, Reef, Mako, Hammerhead, Tiger, and Great White are all in only used early game. The main purpose of these sharks is to introduce you to the main gameplay loop and to get used to the controls. They're incapable of eating a majority of the fish in the game, they're slow as hell, can't destroy ships, and have horrible out of water movement. There is no reason to go back to them other than to compare them to some of the beasts you play as in the late game. Megalodon and Big Daddy is where we actually start getting some good sharks. Well, one shark and a fish. Anyways, the Megalodon and Big Daddy are nearly twice the size of the Great White, are able to consume mines and all types of jellyfish, and destroy boats. Big Daddy is actually slightly better than the Megalodon, as he can consume all types of mines and submarines. Regardless of that fact, both of them are in pretty good tier. Mr. Snappy and Alan the Destroyer of Worlds are the first 2 really good characters. Not only do they have all the benefits Big Daddy had, but are so fast now, like holy crap. Alan is also the first shark here with a gimmick, something every shark after will also share. Alan's gimmick here is that any prey that runs into its tail gets stun locked. Okay, so the gimmick is kind of lame, but they do get better, trust. Moby Dick is pretty good. They play relatively similar to the other sharks and pretty good, with their gimmick and appearance being the main differing factor. Moby Dick is based off the sperm whale from the book it derives its name from, which is honestly really sick. Unfortunately, their ability is less sick, as it's stunning enemies with its blowhole while boosting. Man, this is Moby Dick! You couldn't have given them something cooler rather than something that won't be useful in any situation. Leo is strange. They carry all the benefits of a mid-game shark, as well as being the first shark to actually be able to break rocks in the map. But they're really weird. Their movement is stiff, it feels like they didn't finish half their animations. They also visually look out of place. The art style for this game is like semi-realistic with a bit of cartooniness in there, but Leo cranks up that cartoon aspect to an 11. Genuinely, I think I would have been fine with this design if the head wasn't so disproportionately huge in comparison to the main body. They might have done this because the animal Leo is based on, the Leopurodon, is very similar to the Mosasaurus, the animal Mr. Snappy is based on. But that argument falls flat when 3 of the starting sharks in the game look pretty damn similar to one another. In addition to the rock smashing ability, Leo can also create a vortex to suck in nearby fish. Unfortunately, this ability becomes pretty redundant when you realize there's an accessory with the exact same effect. I just can't bring myself to put it in pretty alright with all my issues. So Leo's gonna be the first shark in neat, I guess. Nessie is pretty good. They're based off the Loch Ness Monster, they have all the benefits of a mid-game shark, and have a pretty sick ability. Alongside having the rock smashing skill from Leo, Nessie can also summon a portal, which transports you to a random location on the map. During gold rushes, the portal sends you to a wormhole just stuffed full of golden fish. Nessie is all around a good shark. Fish. Dinosaur. Next we have the Abyss Shark, the first of the late game sharks, and is a great showing of what these guys are capable of. You get the usual benefits that come with being a shark this late in the game, with the main thing making them stand out, besides their design, being their abilities. Void Mouth is essentially Leo's ability, but a bit better, as the vacuum is wider than what the accessory version provides, so it isn't entirely useless. During gold rushes, a psychic aura will envelop the Abyss Shark, causing any small fish to be brainwashed and stunned for a moment. While it is just another stun ability like with Alan Moby Dick, this one is actually viable to use during a run, as it's an aura surrounding us instead of an effect only being on a specific part of the body. So the Abyss Shark gets put in really good. The Kraken. My god, the Kraken! This is the best shark in the game. It comes with the usual benefits of being a late game shark, moves incredibly fast, Whips of Chaos is an insanely good ability as it insta-kills everything in front of you with each whip it does. And during gold rushes, Tentacle Saw activates, which increases your hitbox to completely surround you and slaughters everything in its path. You can rack up an incredibly high score in such a little amount of time. It almost feels like cheating playing the Kraken. All this comes together to create one of, if not the most fun shark to play in this game, and is my personal favorite to use whenever I play. Now, I'm not sure how popular of an opinion this is, but I don't think Luminite is that good. Don't get me wrong, they're a great shark in general, just not endgame great. Hornblade is a lackluster ability. It makes it so you go even faster while boosting and can kill anything your blade hits. You wanna know what other sharks can do that? All of them! Heartbeat is just sad. It destroys everything in a very small radius. Really? For a shark this late in the game, you should be giving them a screen wipe or make the radius bigger. The only good ability here is Rays of Extinction. It's a bunch of lasers that shoot out of Luminite's horn during gold rushes. Sadly, that ability isn't enough to have it any higher than pretty good. This is the shark I honestly feel the worst about putting this low, because this is a fan-made shark. Back in 2020, Future Games of London decided to hold a contest for a fan-made shark to be put in the game, and the shark that ended up winning was Luminite by Jose de la Torre. A really cool thing for the dev team to do, and a great way to support the community. But this shark isn't that good, man. I feel like a prick calling this shark bad now. Behemoth. This guy right here is a genuine demon, both in terms of gameplay and the fact he is named after an actual demon. They can summon a gateway to another dimension that sucks up everything on screen, and during gold rushes, shoots out a super death laser from their mouth, completely eviscerating everything in its way. This right here is the definition of endgame. But what if we could make it even better? Sharknorok is, as of making this video, the final basic shark in this game, and is the strongest among them. They are the largest shark in the game, has a genuine screen nuke that lasts 8 seconds, gains AoE damage during gold rushes, and has one of the hardest designs in the entire game. Truly worthy of being an apex predator. And with that, those are all the normal sharks ranked, but that's not all the game has to offer, as there are 3 other categories of sharks! Yeah! Evolved sharks are sharks, but evolved! The goal for most of these evolutions is to make older sharks actually viable in the late game, which is what I thought before actually seeing what sharks got the evolved treatment. Dark Hammer and Sharkon are pretty in line with my first general thoughts on what these sharks are going to be, but they aren't really improved upon. Honestly, they're a bit worse than their unevolved counterparts. Dark Hammer moves slower, looks ugly as sin, and has a god-awful ability that summons tiny sharks that last 8 seconds. Then Sharkon is the tiger shark, but they can stun fish now. Wow, what a great ability that isn't totally pointless. Because of how terrible these two are, I had to make an entirely new tier for them to show how genuinely awful they are. Leo got a much needed upgrade with their evolved form, Zamaharubu. They got a longer and more powerful vortex that feels so much better to use. And they're properly animated this time. I especially like that little spin they do when boosting. This is the perfect example of what an evolved shark should be, taking a pretty average shark and making them endgame viable, which is why I'm placing Zamaharubu in really good. Oh, fun fact, Zamaharubu was actually added to promote the game Skull and Bones, as this shark is named and modeled after Zamaharubu from that game. But going to be honest, I don't think this promotion really helped the game sell any copies. Abyss Shark and Behemoth got evolved forms for some reason, and both are better versions of their unevolved counterparts. Abyssosaurus Rex is a very buffed Abyss Shark. The vacuum is much wider and more powerful. The same goes for the mind control ability, which makes this guy one of the best sharks in the game now. Behemoth is the same as before, but with an even better ability. Instead of creating a gateway dimension to suck everything on the screen, we now travel through the gateway and screen wipe multiple areas of the map. These are insanely busted ability upgrades for both sharks here, but that leaves me wondering, why would you make two endgame sharks even better than they already were? Maybe you could make an argument for the Abyss Shark buffs, but Behemoth? Guys, come on, they're already one of the best sharks in the game. We don't need to make him even better. And those are all of the evolved forms. Honestly, not that bad of a category. A lot of them I would actually say are worth the upgrade. But while we move on to the next category of sharks, I think some of you might have noticed that I've neglected to mention a few sharks here. And that's because these sharks are so expensive, man. With this being a free-to-play mobile game, Ubisoft needed to make money somehow, and that's where gems come in. Gems can be used to purchase some accessories and buy sharks without needing to fully level up the shark behind it. Gems are also the only way to do evolutions for any shark after SharkCon. This is all well and fine on paper, it's just you don't get gems too often while playing the game normally, and it takes days, months even, to fully level up mid-game level sharks. So the only way to get these sharks faster, or at all, is to spend money on gems. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to spend $50 to unlock the cool Godzilla shark, and then spend $60 to get the evolved forms for Mr. Snappy, Alien, and said cool Godzilla shark. So they're all just gonna go in too poor to afford tier. Now, you might be wondering, well, how did you get the other sharks if you're missing the ones behind it? And to that I say, shut up, stupid. The next category of sharks are special sharks. These sharks are the most unique and different in the game, not only because each one has their own gimmick, but they always start off at level 1, with you having to reach level 10 during a run. I do think, however, that the devs might have prioritized giving them a unique gimmick, rather than making them fun to play. Electro, Ice, and Pyro are all elemental versions of sharks, and they're not that good. Electro is a reskin of a great white, but produces electricity during boosts, which doesn't really help, and because the diet is that of a great white, you're actively punishing yourself for playing the shark. Ice is even worse because the boost system is completely replaced with Ice Breath that freezes prey, which makes the shark just a bore to play. Pyro is actually not that bad. It's Ice Shark again, but instead of Ice Breath, it's Fire Breath. Fire Breath is an actual good ability, as it functions very similarly to the Death Lasers, just not as good, so they get put in neat. Robo Shark makes me sad. This is a sick-ass robot shark that can shoot bombs. Why can it only boost in the sky? Flying is cool and all, but there isn't that much food up there, so it isn't exactly that great. And they have the same dietary restrictions as the Great White, so sadly they have to go in awful. Natasha the Narwhal is our first non-shark in the special category, and might be one of the worst sharks in the game. Her gimmick is that her tusk can spear anything and can be shot out to kill. Not only is that ability insanely lackluster compared to everything else in this game, but she still has to die of a great white. What are we doing here, Future Games of London? Ghost Shark does the impossible by being cool, unique, and not sucking ass. Because Ghost Shark is a ghost, they can walk through walls, disappear, and fly. Okay, maybe not fly. But they are actually invincible to any attacks. This sounds broken as hell, so why aren't they in the best tier? That's because, to balance out the invincibility, Ghost Shark becomes vulnerable during gold rushes. This is such a fun twist on how sharks are normally vulnerable outside of gold rushes and invincible during them. This right here is how special sharks should feel. Now, we go from that to Shark-Alien. I don't even want to talk about Shark-Alien. This guy's whole gimmick is that they can copy the elemental shark's abilities when interacted with for about, 30 seconds. Two problems I have with this. One, the ice shark doesn't even spawn in the overworld. They only spawn in the Titanic level. Two, bro has the diet of a tiger shark. Are you kidding me? Where shark is cool in theory. A shark that is normal in daylight, but as soon as it turns night, it becomes an absolute powerhouse. There's just a slight problem that becomes very apparent once you start playing the shark. The normal daytime shark is useless. They have no gimmicks in this form, have the diet of a great white, and are overall incredibly weak. While playing this shark, you're being actively handicapped for half of the game. Finny is a cute idea. You got the small shark here, and you give them what is essentially the most overpowered ability in the game. During boost, Deadly Whirl will activate, and will allow for this shiver over here to become completely invincible, and allow them to eat everything. Genuinely perfect special shark here. Gives you a gameplay style different from anything else in the game, and is pretty fun to play. Horsey is somehow one of the best sharks in the game. And the only reason for that is because they decided to actually power scale them with late game sharks. I don't know if Future Games of London did this because it's a collab shark, or they realized that releasing sharks that are the same power level as the Great White is actually a bad idea. Horsey's ability is also busted. They can summon a screen wipe every time they boost. On top of being one of the fastest sharks in the game, Horsey is easily the best shark in the special category, and one of the best in the game. And that right there is all of the special sharks. Gonna be honest, a lot of these sharks really suck and would not recommend getting them. The only good ones are just the last two, which is kind of sad. The next and final category here is Demon Sharks. This type of shark is actually pretty unique since it acts more like a hard mode for the game, with harder enemies spawning and a new spooky reskin of the map. Since this category just came out, there's only one shark playable here, with it being Leviathan. Because the shark is only available in this new, harder area, Leviathan also has the most abilities in the game to combat this. First is Spiked Armor. When activated, it makes the shark invincible for 5 seconds, but it considerably slows down the shark for the 5-second duration. While it definitely can be useful in a pinch, this is definitely the worst ability Leviathan has. You get such little time of invincibility and the 30-second cooldown after you use it, which makes it so this becomes extremely situational to use effectively. The next ability is Stone Burst, which summons rocks that blow up. It's alright. And the last ability is Incinerate, which is just a mega death laser, which, yeah, this is obviously Leviathan's best ability. No shit. Now, you would think with all these abilities, Leviathan should feel incredibly powerful, but they really don't. This is probably because this shark and mode are designed to actually challenge the player, instead of making you feel like an unstoppable beast, which isn't that fun. Half of the appeal of this game is to be an unstoppable force of nature, and this mode just takes that away. I'm hoping the other sharks they have planned feel better than this, because if not, all the sharks here are just going to end up as a neat gimmick you'll never go back to.
So that was Hungry Shark Evolution. Pretty good game with a pretty sizable roster. My only main complaint is that game's really greedy, like to a predatory level. Hopefully the next Hungry Shark game isn't as greedy.
Hungry Shark World was released in 2016 and is essentially Hungry Shark Evolution 2. We got 4 brand new maps to explore. Pacific Islands, this game's version of the regular map from Evolution. Arctic Ocean, basically if the Titanic level from Evolution was an actually fully realized area to explore. Arabian Sea, the first truly new map set in the polluted waters encompassing an oil rig. And South China Sea, a map fully made and intended for endgame sharks, being set in the harbor of a metropolitan city. You might have noticed from the gameplay that the game has received a massive change in the art direction. Future Games London has gone for a more stylized and cartoony art style compared to Evolution. It leads to a lot of the sharks looking more distinct and exaggerated, which becomes very apparent when you look at the sharks based on real sharks. Porbeagle, Wabagon, Nurse Shark, Goblin Shark, Megamouth Shark, Basking Shark, Whale Shark, and Helicoropteron all feature more animated / exaggerated traits and look amazing. Then we got the facelifts done for the returning sharks in the game. Mako Shark looks like a serial killer now. Tiger Shark has been given the color palette of a sand tiger shark, which is closer in color to an actual tiger. The Great White was made more vibrant and given battle scars. The Megalodon has been given a more brown color palette and is a lot sharper than before, and has a very mean face. Mr. Snappy has a more vivid color scheme and has more amplified physical features. And RoboShark has been completely redesigned. In fact, they fit more into the next set of sharks this game has to offer. Sequel sharks. A good chunk of the sharks in this game are variants or just slightly different versions of a shark from Evolution. We got a white tip and black tip version of the reef shark, smooth and great variants of hammerheads, a normal plesiosaur, legendary and veteran types of great whites, an ancient megalodon, a female version of Big Daddy called Big Mama, along with a queen version, a mecha version of Shark Jira based off Mechagodzilla, and a version of Shark Jira based off of Shin Godzilla, and a more alien version of Alan. Now, I have listed a lot of sharks here, but would you believe me if I told you there are still more I have yet to mention? Now, I'm not going to list the rest off like I've been doing for the past minute or so. I'm just going to be talking about my favorite sharks from this game, as I've still yet to mention any of them. The Frenzy is one of the most creative designs in this game. It's a shiver of sharks in the shape of a shark. That's it. They don't have any cool abilities or anything. I just really like the concept of the shark a lot, and they execute it really well. Zombie Shark is a zombie shark. As you might have guessed, they have the ability to turn any enemy sharks on the map into zombies. I like zombies, I like sharks. Put them together and you get peak. I really like how they managed to make the shark look unnerving while still being child-friendly. Zombie Shark also has a stronger variant called the Alpha Zombie Shark, but I don't like them as much because they feel a tad bit over-designed. Clown Sea is a clown-themed shark that has the ability to inflate itself and bounce across the map. Genuinely one of the most entertaining sharks in the game. It's really fun to bounce like crazy and destroy everything in your path. Undersharker is the last of my favorites in this game, and might be my favorite shark in the series in general. Their design goes so hard with its bioluminescent underbelly, the harpoons and chains covering their back, and the general aged feel they got going on. Undersharker also has one of the coolest ability sets in the series. While boosting, they turn into a ghostly mist and start consuming the souls of all those they come across. And for the actual ability, they can charge up a black hole and cause a screen wipe with it. Is that not cool as hell? The unlocking process to get these sharks has been significantly improved from Evolution. For the most part. No longer do we have to fully level up a shark to get to the next one. Now, we just have to eat enough to fill up a gauge to unlock the next category of sharks. This makes it way faster to unlock sharks. On top of that, the spawn rates for gems are a lot higher, so if you do just want to get a shark, you can somewhat easily grind it out. Unfortunately, for the highest category of sharks, it's a completely different story. For apex sharks, the only way to unlock them is by using pearls. Now you might be wondering, what are pearls? Well, it's a new currency in this game that can only be obtained through the brand new Extinction game mode. For the low price of 5,000 gold or the high price of 10,000 gold, you can play the Wasteland version of Pacific Islands or the Apocalypse version of Arctic Ocean. Aside from the obvious visual changes, this mode has status effects that happen every 30 seconds. Flipping the screen, low gravity, spawning more of something, shrinking your shark, tying your boost to your health, stuff like that. Managing to survive for 10 minutes will reward you with around 100 pearls, which can get you nothing. The apex sharks tend to cost either between 5,000 pearls or 10,000 pearls, so you have to play this mode 50 to 100 times to get one apex shark if you're able to survive the whole 10 minutes without failing.
But worry not, as Ubisoft is giving you an easy shortcut for you to spend weeks grinding for pearls. All you gotta do is just spend a measly $20 to get 4,000 pearls. Oh, is that not enough for you to buy an apex shark? Well, all you gotta do now is just spend $15 additional on the Splash Pass. That way, you can get an additional 3,500 pearls! Or, better yet, just skip all this pearl stuff and just buy, for $10, the Apex Shark of the Day!
This is genuinely the worst part of the game. If it was only the $10 special deal or even the $15 on the Battle Pass, I would be fine because I enjoy this game enough to where I think it's worth spending money to get a shark. And the Battle Pass includes a bunch of accessories, skins, gems, and sometimes even sharks if a new one has been released. But that $20 offer is just scummy. It's barely out of reach of the cheapest Apex sharks, and to spend $20 for that is highway robbery.
Despite that insanely predatory deal, I still adore this game and highly recommend anyone to play it. Oh, just don't play the console version. That one sucks. And there's a much better shark game you can play on consoles.
Created by Tripwire Interactive, Maneater is the most recent and what I personally believe is the best shark game to be released. It takes almost every aspect of every other shark game I've talked about and improves upon them. It's also part of the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place, as I feel like when it got released initially in 2020, it kind of just got overshadowed by every other game to be released that year, so I kind of want to give it the credit it deserves.
The game starts off pretty similarly to Unleash, which you're quickly going to find out is this game's biggest inspiration. We got an intro cinematic to present the main plot of the game, but unlike Unleash, this plot is actually hype. It's a parody of the average fishing reality show, your river monsters, deadliest catch, chasing monsters. The show we're following in this game is Maneater.
Oh my god, it's like the name of the game!
It stars Pierre LeBlanc, otherwise known as Scaly Pete, and his son Kyle as they search the Gulf of Mexico for the megalodon that killed Pete's daddy. I absolutely adore every segment we get in this game relating to this plot because of how accurate it is to these kinds of shows in real life. The archetype of people starring in them, the style of editing, the music choices, the intro, the hashtags that appear on screen whenever someone says a quotable line, all absolutely nail the vibes of reality TV. After the intro cinematic, we're thrown right into the tutorial of the game, where you quickly realize how smooth these controls are. It's nearly one-to-one with how Unleash plays, but with a few minor changes that make it actually good. Tank controls are no more, with us having full analog control over the shark, along with complete control over the camera. Combat is basically the same with you being able to bite and tail whip enemies, however the consumption of enemies and locking onto them was made a lot simpler. Combat in general is pretty different, with it having more focus on you dodging attacks and waiting for openings. Naval combat is basically identical, with it being a bit easier now thanks to the better movement and lock-on, and oh look, Scaly Pete is here to help showcase this. Yeah, see, all you gotta do is jump out of the water and onto the oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like in Unleash, we are captured. However, instead of being sent to a knockoff SeaWorld, Scaly Pete actually kills us. But while killing us, Pete finds out we were pregnant. Being forcefully removed from the womb is not a very fun process, so it's a bit of revenge for that and, killing us. Our child decides to bite Pete's arm off, causing him to throw our child into the bayou, finally starting the game for real. This is such a great tutorial. It's such a seamless way to introduce you to the mechanics and world of this game, and I can't praise this game enough for how good of an idea it is to start the game by having us play as our mother. It gives you a taste of power to strive for later, and gives us actual motivation as we want to avenge our mother. I love it when games give you a preview of the late game before reducing you to level 1! The first area of the game here is Fawtick Bayou, a once bustling marsh now reduced to an abandoned rotting shell of its former glory. Home to several turtles, catfish, and alligators. While the tutorial introduced the main general gameplay, this is where we get to see the actual mechanics of the game. Each sea creature here gives you a different resource upon consumption: protein, fat, mineral, mutagen. You can also acquire these by discovering landmarks, license plates, and nutrient caches. These nutrients can be used to upgrade certain parts of the body or organs. I'll go into more depth about the body part bit later, but the organs are essentially buffs you can put on the shark. Better sonar, more health, increasing the amount of nutrients you get, that kind of stuff. To actually upgrade these things, you need to head to the grotto. The grotto is your save room in this game. Nothing can attack you, and you can use your time here to strategize what builds you want to use. Another thing Eat and Pray rewards you with is XP, which, like in any game, will slowly raise your level and increase your general stats. After reaching certain levels when you enter the grotto, you will age to a different stage of life. This will reward you with some new abilities and allow you to break through locked areas. This is actually how you escape the grotto and proceed with the game. If you hadn't noticed by now, this is an open world game, so the story isn't really tied to any levels. Instead, story progression is tied to how strong you are, so the tasks you're given to continue the story tend to be things that just help you level up and make sure you don't just speedrun your way to the end. There are other side quests to do in each area as well, which tend to be just fighting against a stronger enemy of the biome, but hey, this is still pretty fun. Because Fawtick Bayou is the first area of the game, there's only 2 tasks to complete here before it allows you to leave. Once you do leave, you enter Dead Horse Lake, a polluted and radiated lake that is the graveyard to many, and a nice getaway for others. Home to many barracudas, groupers, and humans? Yes, this is the first area that finally adds humans to our diet, and with them, a new mechanic. Upon eating or being spotted by enough people, bounty hunters will be called in to kill you. By managing to fend off enough waves of bounty hunters, your infamy will start to increase, and once you max it out, a hunter leader will come in as the boss of that infamy rank. There are a total of 10 infamy ranks, and with that, 10 hunter leaders. We got Bayou Willie, an alligator hunter that moved to the big seas for a harder and stronger challenge. Bobby Bojangles, 5-time winner of the Quad County Chili Cook-Off, and is currently looking for some fresh meat for her famous Shark Gator Chili. Pookie Paul, an ex-Coast Guard member looking to redeem his name. Candyman Curtis, desperate for attention after a bad speedboat race, he sees killing you as his ticket back to the limelight. Ensign Tyler Dixon, a very lazy Coast Guard officer that figures solving the killer shark case will give him more time off. Butcher Boy Brady, Scaly Pete's rival that believes killing you will get him one up on Pete. Lieutenant Shannon Sims, an up-and-coming officer looking to push her career forward by killing you before anyone else gets the chance to. Mama Maybelle. As a high-ranking member of the Antolini crime family, she's noticed this little shark problem has started to affect the family's profits, and she looks to take care of it personally. Commander Percy Metcalf. Utilizing the power of science and technology, he seeks to eliminate you and recover whatever is left for research. And Captain Robert Burnlett. As a last resort, this retired captain with a history of battling various cryptids and sea monsters was brought back into battle to end your tri-raid. As each of these are the final boss for an infamy rank, they also get harder than the last. This in turn causes the bounty hunters to get stronger as well. big missed opportunity here to make these fights mandatory and tie into the story, as it fits the whole you becoming stronger and a bigger threat, and it serves as nice build-up to Scaly Pete. It would also mean the devs would actually have to make these hunter leaders genuine bosses instead of just bounty hunter reskins. Yeah, so I neglected to mention this, but you can just hop on the boat of any of these leaders and just kill them instantly, which is quite a shame because I think a lot of these guys could have been fun little mini bosses with special gimmick attached to each of them. Bayou Willie could have had a swarm of alligators around him, Pookie Paul could throw Molotov cocktails at you, and Mama Maybell could have the mob fight alongside her. While they did pass on this, each area does actually have a mini boss to fight, with the introduction of Apex Predators. Apex Predators are the strongest fighters of their respective habitats, and usually are stronger versions of a normal enemy in the area. I'll discuss each as they come along, but for now we have the Apex Barracuda. This beast has been heavily mutated thanks to the nuclear waste polluting Dead Horse Lake. On top of the physical disfigurements, the Apex Barracuda has increased in size and speed, making it quite the formidable adversary. As the first Apex Predator in the game, they aren't that tough of a fight, but give a good idea on what the future Apex Predators fights are going to be like. Upon defeating this Barracuda, you're rewarded with bone teeth. Remember earlier when I said you could use nutrients to upgrade body parts? Well, these are the body parts I was talking about. The bone set is rewarded for defeating specific Apex Predators. This set transforms your shark into a battering ram. It increases the damage you deal to boats, ups your defense capabilities in general, and makes your shark an unstoppable force. Great set to use for naval battles as it just churns boats to mush. Visually also looks cool as hell with the rough bony exoskeleton and that fully exposed dilated eye. In addition to the bone set, there are two other sets you can get for your shark. The bioelectric set is rewarded for defeating specific hunter leaders. This set focuses primarily on stunning and dealing small amounts of electric damage over time. Definitely one of the weakest sets you can acquire, but has one of the hardest designs in the game, with the bioluminescent sea anemone's tendrils growing out of the shark, and the shark becoming more blue. The Shadow set is rewarded by finding all the landmarks in specific habitats. This set shoots out poisonous gunk that does AoE damage, poisons your opponents, and can allow you to slow down time. It additionally increases your general speed and acceleration. This is definitely the best set, or at the very least is tied with the bone set for the best. Slowing down time and AoE damage can take out big groups of hunters fast. Visually, the set is the weakest as it's just shadow armor on a shark, which does look cool, but the other two just look better. Finally, moving on from that, we can enter the Golden Shores, a man-made island where the rich elites of Port Clovis can relax and play a game of golf. Home to the same populations we've been seeing throughout the game, but with the brand new inclusion of Mako sharks. But that isn't the only kind of Mako we get here, because we also got the Apex Mako Shark. This Mako Shark has been the victim of several missed shots, and is looking to take out all that anger on you. Unfortunately, like the last Apex fight, this is a pretty easy fight, as it's just an enhanced Mako Shark, which already wasn't that much of a problem. At least it has a cool design with the golf ball as one eye. There is actually one more Apex fight for this section of the game. For some reason, they retroactively went back and added an Apex Alligator to the Photic Bayou. Odd choice to do this fight at this stage of the game, but here's a cool lore tidbit about this Apex Predator. This is a grown-up version of Rosie, the mascot of the now defunct Big B's Swamp Tours. This is a pretty sick lore detail that a majority of players will miss. The next region is Sapphire Bay. It's a bay. Not really too much to say about this area. Even its Apex Predator is kind of lame. It's just a hammerhead shark, but with bones growing on its hammer. Ooh. Guess since there's not much to talk about in this area, might as well acknowledge the narrator. Since the beginning of the game, we've had this narrator guy chiming in every now and then to say a fun fact, a quip, or a comment about what we're currently doing. It doesn't happen enough to where it's annoying, and the jokes he makes are pretty alright. But the narrator shines the most when you visit a new landmark. Every single landmark has some sort of quippy line from the narrator, and they're honestly some of the best lines in the game. It's not the funniest thing out there, but it does put a smile on my face. A question you might be asking yourself is, why is there a narrator here in the first place? Well, he's here to tie into the reality show plot as he's the narrator of that too! Oh, speaking of that, how is Scaly Pete doing? Since losing his arm, Scaly Pete has been making his son do more work around the ship. But tensions start to rise with Pete's constant beratement of Kyle, which is causing him to rethink this summer fisherman gig, especially with his father's insistence that a megalodon could still be alive in this day and age. Wow, what drama. You know, I hope they're able to work things out and spend some quality father and— Wait a minute! That guy killed our mother! And there he is over there! Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at— Scaly Pete is the first big fight of the game, and is actually a pretty fun fight. Due to the cage, you can't just hop on and devour him. Instead, you have to use the missile he's launching at you and throw them back at the cage. Or you could brute force it. The cage definitely helps the fight stand out more from the bounty hunter fights in the regular gameplay, and makes the fight overall just more fun. After destroying the cage, the difficulty becomes non-existent, as it becomes like every other naval battle in the game. We even get a cavalry coming in. After utterly destroying Scaly Pete, we decide to finally off this guy and jump on the boat to finish the job. While trying to defend himself from us, Scaly Pete's plan B is already set in motion, as Kyle comes in with a can of gasoline and sets us ablaze. But in our tussle, we reveal the ship's engine. Wanting to save the ship, Kyle tries to extinguish the flame, but before Pete can tell him to abandon ship, it explodes with Kyle dying, Pete's gravely injured, and us physically scarred. One of the best parts in the game, hands down. We have been building up to this moment since the beginning. We got stronger because of this. We mutated our bodies for this fight. And finally getting our revenge on Pete for killing our mother has never felt so good. We took his leg, his boat, and his son. Woo! That's what I call a win right there. Well, I suppose that means in the grand scheme of things, we're tied. Guess we'll have to battle him again someday. By this point in the game, the world is your oyster. Of course, there's an intended way with the story missions, but you're free to just do whatever you want now. Beat more bounty hunters, do side quests from previous areas, unlock new paths in those areas, collect more license plates, see more landmarks, and explore the 3 brand new regions. The vacation hotspot of Port Clovis, Prosperity Sands, the boggy waters of Caviar Key, and the vast open waters that is the Gulf. Each of these areas also have their own apex predator. Prosperity Sands has the great white, and it's just a great white. Admittedly, this is a battle-scarred great white, which makes it look cooler. Caviar Key has the apex orca. I love the concept of a captive orca boss fight, and I'm glad to see that's here, and it's the best I've seen it. This orca has scars and a floppy dorsal fin, which is surprisingly the first time I've seen a detail like this on one of these orca fights. And finally, we have the Gulf's apex predator, the apex sperm whale, and it's a Moby Dick reference, baby! Yeah! I love Moby Dick references! Best apex predator in the game, baby! The chains, the splinters, the anchor attached to its tail, it's all pink! So that's how we've been doing after the explosion. But how has Scaly Pete been doing? Not well. Losing Kyle was the breaking point for Pete. He's basically gone insane and wants us dead no matter what. The TV crew had to hunt him down just to try and talk him out of this. But he isn't going to let anyone stop him. So, let's just give him the fight he's clamoring for and settle this once and for all. There are 2 big changes done to this fight. The first change is quite noticeable as it's the big electric field generators attached to the ship. This adds an additional layer of defense to the boat, as well as forcing you to catch and throw missiles at them. Second is, we are required to fight the cavalry this time. This also gives Pete some time to repair the electric field generators. Great step up from the previous Pete fight, and truly a worthy final boss for this game. Once we beat Scaly Pete here, we are shown the final and best cutscene in this game, which I will be playing in full for you to enjoy.
Laissez les bons temps rouler.
Cinema truly could not have seen this game ending any other way. Dying in a blaze of glory with our arch rival. Truly perfect. And there isn't any way the game could ruin this. Oh, fuck!
Yeah, so remember when I said this game got overshadowed when released? That doesn't exactly mean it didn't sell well. I don't have the numbers for its first year, but as of 2024, this game has sold 14 million copies. That's a lot. With that success, it was able to get one DLC expansion, Truth Quest.
Over the course of filming our escapades, our narrator seems to have been radicalized by seeing our mutations. He now runs a show on the internet, free for all to go join him on his truth quest. Okay, a conspiracy-themed DLC. This has some promise. So is it actually good? Let's start with what I liked. As I said earlier, a conspiracy-themed DLC is pretty cool for this game, and fits with the whole mutant aspect of the game. The new area added in this DLC, Pullover Island, is good. It's a government facility where they do experiments on marine life, and it has some pretty cool stuff for us to do here. We got some new apex predators that are sick as hell, with them being other marine life with our mutations. An electric great white, a shadow orca, and a bone sperm whale. It's a perfect next step for these boss fights, and it's really cool seeing what these mutations look like on different creatures. The new atomic set introduced here is pretty cool. This set allows us to throw atomic balls and shoot lasers. Pretty fun to use, and definitely feels like a DLC kit. Like every area in this game, Pullover Island has its fair share of quests. We got the usual defeat X amount of blank, and go beat this apex predator. But we have a new quest type introduced here. Time trials. These quests test your speed and reflexes as you race across the island to go through rings. Easily one of my favorite things in this DLC, and honestly wish this entire DLC was just time trials. And that's it for all the things I did like. Now for everything I didn't. I hate how we're brought back to life for this. It taints the original ending and doesn't really get explained how we survived a point-blank explosion with no scars. It's so drab and cloudy in Pullover Island. It just makes everything look boring. A big appeal of this game is how surprisingly pretty it is. But now everything looks like we're in a Zack Snyder film. The bounty hunter fights suck majorly in Pullover Island. The boats take an eternity to destroy. There's helicopters now, and none of the hunter leaders are that interesting. It's all just military personnel. I get it, we're at a government facility, but would it kill them to add maybe a mad scientist, a mutated human, or just anything other than the military? At a certain point in the story, we get taken out of Pullover Island and back into Port Clovis, where we have to find a government-made beast that will destroy the world. In the process of following the beast trail, several new quests appear for us to do, and it's just the same shit we've been doing this entire game. I don't know if it was fatigue hitting in or what, but I was sick of doing the exact same missions over and over again. Not even the apex predators were good during this, as they were just the same ones from Pullover Island, but powered up. The only good part here were the time trials, because it's something different, and it's fun. Now, the story. I hate that the reality TV angle has just been completely gutted. I get what we're going for here, but there are reality shows about conspiracy theories. Finding Bigfoot, Ancient Aliens, Atlantis Found, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. I guess they just didn't want to make any new human models or characters to host for this DLC. Anyways, the story is we follow our shark into a secret government base, Pullover Island. At this island, we discover a secret bioweapon called Moloch. If this beast were to be released, it will infect the world with a deadly disease that Big Pharma will just so happen to have a vaccine for. And to get it, every country will have to submit to the Insectoid Brotherhood. Okay. So, our shark ventures out into Port Clovis to stop it before it gets too far. After searching the entirety of Port Clovis, we come face to face with Moloch, otherwise known as the Atomic Leviathan. To give credit where credit is due, I do think this fight is pretty fun and challenging. Fighting a prehistoric creature is also pretty cool, and a great final boss for this DLC. What I don't like about this fight is that Moloch summons the Apex Predators from this DLC to fight alongside it. Come on, I don't want to fight these guys again, I'm sick and tired of them. Last thing I want to say about this fight is that it does not hit the same as Scaly Pete. We had history with Pete. We had beef with each other. We were sworn rivals. But this guy? I don't care about them. They're going to destroy humanity? Okay. I'm a shark. Why do I care? In fact, why have we been doing this entire journey? We shouldn't care about any of this. Let's just get the story over with. After we defeat Moloch and save the world, our narrator goes further into insanity. After an intervention by his wife and son, he files for divorce so he can focus all of his attention on this web show, and discovers the truth in Truth Quest. Okay, the divorce part was kind of funny, but what the fuck is this? This ending is not satisfying at all. It just feels like, wow, you did it! Now get out.
Despite that underwhelming DLC, I still heavily recommend this game. It has a fun and tragic story, the gameplay is really good, the graphics are beautiful, and it goes on sale pretty often, so grab it whenever you get the chance. Now, I'm sure we've all learned today just how cool sharks are, but I want to make something very clear. Sharks, they're not actually like this.
Despite most depictions of sharks having them being bloodthirsty beasts, most of the time they're pretty chill and just do their own thing. If you don't bother them, they won't bother you. So I want you to go away from this video just knowing sharks are pretty badass, but not murderers.
And you know what? I'm gonna join them right now.